Having finished the previous season as Quest Engineering Cup champions, Lochee United set their sights on more silverware in the coming season. As part of a tough pre-season schedule, Highland League opposition descended on Thompson Park, with Deveronvale, Nairn County and Formartine United all making the trip south to Dundee. It was a real test for the squad, but a perfect way to gear up for the challenges ahead. Pre-season took a slight detour when Genefield Swifts withdrew from our scheduled friendly. A quick reshuffle saw us make a trip to Fife, where Hill of Beath Hawthorn stepped up to fill the gap. Another solid test as preparations continued. And to round things off, it was a visit from Highland League outfit Brora Rangers, bringing our pre-season campaign to a close with a final challenge at Thompson Park. The stage was set, the legs were ready, and the Bluebells were primed for the season ahead. With a successful pre-season under our belts, it was time for the serious work to begin. First up, Carnoustie. Dispatched with ease, beaten by 4-0 in a statement opening performance. Next, a trip to Downfield. A hard-fought contest that ended 3-2 as the Bluebells battled to take all 3 points home. But the Spiders weren't done weaving, and they'd spin a web or two before the season was through. The first home game of the season saw Arbroath Vics arrive at Thompson Park, proudly carrying a 100% record. But they wouldn't be leaving with it. The Bluebells were in no mood for generosity, and the visitors quickly found out that keeping a perfect record is easier said than done. Next up, it was East of Scotland Cup duty, an away trip to Forfar West End, and it was here the Bluebells truly laced up their shooting boots. A dominant display and a 6-goal victory safely saw Lochee through to the next round, as the goals began to flow and confidence grew. A 3-1 win over East Craigie kept momentum building. Then came the big one, the Scottish Cup preliminary round. Anything to worry about? Not a chance. 4 goals, a clean sheet and a commanding performance saw the Bluebells comfortably into the Scottish Cup proper. August ended just the way we wanted, with style, confidence and a team hitting its stride. September kicked off in familiar fashion. Another 4-goal victory, this time Dundee St James on the receiving end as the Bluebells kept rolling. But the perfect start was about to hit a bump. League rivals Broughty Athletic brought the momentum to a halt, stopping the goals and hitting two of their own to hand the Bluebells their first defeat of the campaign. Putting the setback behind us, focus turned to the Scottish Junior Cup as we welcomed Lanark United to Thompson Park. A hard-fought 2-2 draw after 90 minutes meant it was down to penalties, and the Bluebells held their nerve, winning the shootout 5-3 to move on. Next came a historic Scottish Cup tie against none other than East Stirlingshire, the former club of Sir Alex Ferguson. A thrilling 3-2 win saw Lochee United book their place in the next round and reminded everyone we could mix it with the big names. A dominant 4-goal victory away to Scone kept the Bluebells ticking in the league. Momentum was key, and in this title race, slip-ups were unforgivable. That focus didn't fade, and it showed the following week with a 3-1 win over Cooper Angus. 2 strong performances, 6 more points, and the league charge was very much alive. October ended with back-to-back cup action, and the Bluebells were right in the thick of it. First up, the Scottish Junior Cup, a professional performance and 2 goals away to Dice booked our place in the next round. Then came the big one, a trip to Peterhead in the Senior Scottish Cup, taking on the side who would go on to win League Two. And what a start. Lochee stormed into an incredible 2-goal lead, silencing the home crowd. But in the end, Peterhead's firepower proved just too much, as the Chi bowed out in a 6-3 thriller. No Hampton visit this season, but plenty of pride in the performance. A 5-goal victory lit up Thompson Park against Latham, fireworks on the pitch and in the stands as the Bluebells turned on the style. But the celebrations wouldn't last long. A midweek clash with the reigning champions North End was just around the corner. When Callum Lamb found the net, it looked like it could be another famous night under the lights for Lochee. But champions don't fold easily, and with just 7 minutes to play, North End struck twice from distance, first from 35 yards, then 25. To snatch all 3 points. Another wound, not fatal in the league race, but a clear warning, there could be no more slip-ups. A 7-1 demolition of Forfar West End helped ease the sting of the North End defeat, an emphatic response from the Bluebells, full of goals and intent. That momentum rolled on with back-to-back wins over Montrose Roseley, Harp, and the Vicks, each one a step forward, a statement of intent. The message was clear. Lochee weren't going anywhere, but our camera was. Off for repairs just as the action kept coming. December began on the front foot with a solid victory over Kirry Thistle, keeping the pressure on at the top of the table. But cup dreams took a hit just days later. A penalty shootout defeat to Troon in the Scottish Junior Cup brought our run to a close in heartbreaking fashion. With our camera back from repair, we were back capturing the action, just in time for our trip to Blair Gowrie, as the Bluebells looked to bounce back once again. A 7-goal victory over the Pansies was the perfect early Christmas present for the fans. A dominant display, full of flair and finishing, that lit up Glenesk Park just before the winter break. It was the ideal send-off into the festive period, with spirits high and the Bluebells still in the title hunt as the winter break began. The new year kicked off in the right way. A strong win over Forfar United got January rolling and kept the Bluebells on course. But just as quickly, disaster struck. A home defeat to Tayport wasn't terminal for our title hopes, but it was a serious blow. A reminder that in this league, every point matters. The climb just got steeper, but the fight was far from over. February brought a fiery response from the Bluebells. A 6-0 win over Arbroath Vicks in the John Riley Memorial Trophy got things rolling in style. Next up, revenge. Tayport, who had dented our title charge in January, were put to the sword with a 2-1 win at their place. Message sent. And to round off the month, a solid 2-0 victory over Carnoustie kept momentum firmly on our side. 3 games, 3 wins. The Bluebells were back in full voice. March began with a show of real character. 2 goals down away to East Craigie, and the Bluebells came storming back to snatch a brilliant comeback win. Next up, Latham were put to the sword, followed by another solid performance to see off Kirry Thistle. To end the month, it was a huge clash with North End, a must-win encounter to keep the pressure on at the top. A makeshift Lochee side battled bravely, but just came up short, falling 1-0 in a tight, hard-fought contest. Plenty of football still to be played, and the Bluebells were still fighting on all fronts. April, and it felt like the wheels were coming off. A narrow 1-0 defeat to Tayport was tough to take, but things got worse when Broughty Athletic put 5 past us in the league. In the Cups, East Craigie got their revenge with a 4-2 win, and Downfield edged a thriller at Thompson Park, winning 3-2. Then came a frustrating 1-1 draw with Harp, bringing any remaining hopes of a title challenge to a close. But in the gloom, there was still a spark. A 7-0 demolition of Harp in the top half cup, pure revenge. And a reminder of what the Bluebells are capable of when they click. With Cup glory our final shot at silverware, the Bluebells rose to the occasion. A superb performance, down to 10 men, saw us overcome Broughty Athletic in the John Riley Memorial Trophy. But just days later, Broughty returned the favour. A defeat in the top half cup, with Kerr Hayes' penalty the only highlight in a tough outing. Next came Downfield in the same competition. An injury-hit Lochee squad battled bravely but fell short once again. And so it all came down to one final chance. The John Riley Memorial Trophy final. Facing Downfield again, the Bluebells led, only to be pegged back by a late Spider equaliser. Penalties were decided, the dreaded lottery. This time, there would be no fairy tale ending. A season that began with so much promise came to a close. Not with a trophy, but with pride in the effort, pride in the spirit, and pride in the badge. A season of managerial changes and a team decimated by injuries. But Stephen Fallon has had the chance to truly assess his squad, and he knows what's needed. And remember, if we don't fall, we can't pick ourselves back up. We go again, See you next season.